Forum for Women in Democracy is a non-partisan women's organization which grew out of the Women's Caucus of 1994 to 1995 Constitutional Assembly that debated and passed the 1995 Constitution.
Forum for Women in Democracy, Fowode. I hear some people call it Fowode. With due respect, that's wrong. We, the founders, shortened the name Forum for Women in Democracy to Fowode. Fowode is a play on the word forward because we began our organization with a strong vision and a desire to push our country forward, our continent forward. We were elected, some of us, the founders, to the Constituent Assembly to make a new constitution for the country. And there was an opportunity to write in that constitution all our dreams for a society where men and women decide equally. Even before I was elected to lead the Women's Caucus, we had already brought ourselves together as a gender working group. And we had gone and approached the Frederick Ebert Foundation and asked for support to bring together the women in the Constituent Assembly. So when we went to a meeting of women delegates and presented our plan, I was elected to be the leader of the caucus.
During the assembly, the women delegates used the caucus to increase their political influence, broaden the base for support of women's issues, and advocate for gender-based constitution in all aspects.
We led this caucus and achieved all that we wanted, plus more, in the Constitution of Uganda.
We were able to have a very gender-compliant 1995 Constitution. You find very progressive, pro-women. Article 32 on affirmative action, Article 33 on the rights of women, and then the article on equality. So that did not come just by mistake. It came because of concerted efforts.
We were just filled with passion to go out there and take this message to every woman in the country and ask them, encourage them to rise, prepare them to go and fill the leadership positions that have been created for them. That's how we created Forum for Women in Democracy. We started our work in the office of Advocate Ibanda Nahamya, an amazing woman who helped us to register and gave us our first home in her office. We started with one chair and one mat, and I can remember that our first staff member was Tabu Egesa, who was a pure volunteer and who ran around the city on foot, taking our letters, our messages, and doing all our operations for us. We started as volunteers. We, the board, were the ones operating, leading our programs.
Forum for Women in Democracy, a non-partisan national women's organization in Uganda, is one of the civil society organizations that has dedicated her efforts to promoting gender equality in decision-making processes.
We've been engaging on inequality, addressing the key areas where inequality is, especially around decision-making and politics, around resources and budgets, around body politics, especially work around family planning, gender-based violence, about some of the things that are deeply power issues.
We implemented. We went through all the districts, training women at the national level for national elections and at the grassroots level to compete for local government seats.
To contribute the broadening of knowledge on gender, Fowode engages in extensive research, documentation, and publications.
The ability to innovate, the ability to create alternatives, the ability to bring on board strategies that are used. We learn a lot from them. Some of these are very challenging because sometimes you try something out, it doesn't work out, but then you keep trying until you get something that works best for you.
Fowode, up to date, trained over 7,000 female legislators in effective legislative engagement and empowered over 15,000 leaders to join politics at various levels through civic education programs that increased awareness on the importance of women's participation in democratic processes.
Our first program was to raise awareness about rights that have been won. And secondly, to prepare women to brush themselves up, some of them straight from the kitchen into a local government office, others straight from a classroom where they were talking just to students to becoming legislators.
I greatly thank Fowode for bringing women this far. Fowode has brought us a long way. We have come a long way. We still have a long way to go, but it is worth celebrating what we have achieved so far.
Fowode trained me how a leader should be, how a leader should behave, how a leader should look like.
They mentored us, they gave us skill in leadership, they taught us how to design a campaign manifesto. And one thing which I learned from those trainings is that as an upcoming politician, you must be identified with at least one issue. You could be known as the water woman. I remember, I don't forget that, the water woman of Karamoja. You know, identify a problem in your community and then become the woman of that.
The efforts by governments, civil societies and women's activists to promote gender equality and women empowerment are paying up. And this is evident by the ever-increasing participation of women in politics in the various general elections, hence demystifying the historic attitudes regarding politics as a male domain.
Uganda has moved a step forward when it enacted the affirmative action in the Constitution. And we have these seats that are solely for women. And we've done amendments also on those affirmative actions where we removed electoral colleges. Now we have voted adult suffrage. So in our own right, we are actually MPs for MPs.
Fowode, through her gender budget project, has advocated for gender-balanced budgets that address the needs of a poor woman and men, girls and boys, equitably and give full attention to people with disabilities and other disadvantaged groups.
The organization has strategically positioned itself as a champion of women's rights protection, participation in political decision-making, and engaging in issues of macroeconomic governance through the gender-responsive budgeting.
Fowode was one of the NGOs which started championing the aspect of gender budgeting. They first worked with the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Gender, and later on realized that Parliament could be one of the other entry points if they were to influence the budget.
We look at this as a question of equity, and we think that now we should be looking at now issues of equity being reflected in all the reports of Parliament so that they can be captured by the policymakers at all the levels.
Gender-responsive budgeting has not only helped in analyzing plans and budgets, but it's also acting as a watchdog over government to ensure it meets its obligations as per the economic policies.
One thing that was very clear was that we had been doing a lot of supply of information, of capacity and so on, and we needed to begin to build demand so that communities could see the importance of participating in the processes and begin to demand for equitable service delivery and also for accountable leadership.
Fowode believes that unempowered citizenry will ensure that their local budgets are responding to their needs and the money is accounted for.
They have done a lot of awareness and pricking the minds of the community about government programs in their area. The community is now empowered to stand up and ask and question what's going on as far as government programs are concerned.
Village budget clubs have continued to empower grassroots communities to demand for gender-balanced budgets that can directly address their needs.
Tulina obuyinza wano wansi tusobola olondola ssente zaffe kye twali tutasobola naye bwe twamala okusoma nawulira amaanyi era twatandika omulimu ogwo gw'okulondoola ssente zaffe ezijja naddala NADS mu malwaliro mu masomero kye nali simanyi nti nina obuyinza wadde nayikondo zino ez'okubira nti nina obuyinza okumanya ssente zatambudde zitya.
Fowode yajja ng'erina ebiruubirirwa byayo olina okuloonyeza bikwatagana ku malwaliro naddala nga gavumenti health center tulina wano emu Mugombola tulinamu emu n'emu district ziwerako kati wano ku health center yaffe ya free Wakiso epicenter.
Ekibiina kya Fowode nga kiri ku musingi naddala okusinga mu bakyala bwe nasooka okukiwulira oluvannyuma awo ne batubuulira ne batunyonyola engeri omuntu gy'ayinzamu okulondoola ssente era ne batubuulira nti tulivunaanyizibwako ku ssente ezo eziba zikomezeddwawo kwansi ku byalo oba ku bintu ebiba bikolebwa mu bitundu byaffe okugeza enguudo okugeza bbowa ezisimibwa n'ebintu ebirala nga bye batugamba nti nadiso bye baleeta ebintu ebyo abantu babiganyirwamu batya.
Uganda's population is comprised of over 78% under the age of 35 years, majority of who are young men and women. Despite their composition in the population stratum, young people, especially young women, continue to be marginalized in the domestic and public level decision-making processes.
Our vision is of a world where men and women, boys and girls, all contribute equally to the decisions that affect their lives, whether this is at the family level, in the community, at the national level, or at the global level. We want a society where all men and women, girls and boys, equally shape the future for themselves.
The future of the country really lies in the hands of the young people. There are many young people in this country, and it's wonderful to have an opportunity to spend time sucking in the energy and the passion that we hear from these people, from all of these young people, about what they want to see in the future, what they want to do for themselves and their country.
Fowode has impacted greatly, not only on women, but also on men, because they had a vision of saying that if we only work with women, then the impact will not be great. So then also if we only work with the off layers or the grown-up women, then we will have a gap. So immediately they started this program of young leadership.
It is against this background that Fowode works to build the leadership capacities of women, which in the long run ensure qualitative change in agendas of the national and local legislators.
The young people are the future, and so we work with them in a program that we call Mentoring for Alternative and Transformative Leadership, because we'd like a young cadre of women that are able to engage effectively and are able to front issues of gender equality and social justice in whichever decision-making spaces they may be in.
We are training young people because they are the future of the country, transforming even our painful histories to positive agents for the future of Uganda.
These young men and women are really becoming resourceful people in the society. Some have joined leadership, others have a higher prospects of joining leadership, others are also leaders from within their small spaces in the communities.
I was trained in 2009, the first session. I was young, I was in senior 6, that was my vocation. I was green and I could not have all this confidence I have today. They built my self-esteem, and from then I was changed.
This training has really taught me a lot that being a feminist is not about being a woman, but it's all about standing for the rights of women as well as standing for the rights of men. Personally, I thought I could not be an activist or a feminist.
I see an important role for Fowode in the next 21 years will be that of reclaiming, consolidating democracy in our country. And this is resulting in ever-increasing levels of inequality between regions, between men and women. All these axes of inequality keep increasing. Women's lives are not what we want them to be. The majority of our women living out there in rural areas are still living lives of misery. So, forward, it's time to celebrate, but it's time to re-energize us.